You've probably heard it a few times by now. You're going to do a lot of work in J202. You're also going to do a lot of work in 335, 345, upper level journalism courses, and hopefully some professional opportunities like working at one of the student news organizations or doing an internship. We want you to have a place to collect and show off all that hard work, so that's why we're asking you to create a portfolio site on WordPress. Someday, when you apply for a job or an internship, this would be the site that you would share with your potential employer. It's a place where you will embed or link to examples of your work, you'll tell people how to contact you, you'll make your resume available, and you will brand yourself. So let me show you an example of what a portfolio site looks like. This is Sheriff Alice Tompkins' personal website. Tompkins is one of the main characters in a fictional news story that we do all throughout the J202 semester. She's supposed to be the Dane County Sheriff, so her website will look a little different from yours, but Alice does have all the elements that we require for your portfolio site. On her front page, there are two of the required elements for the portfolio site. You have a multimedia component, and in this case it's just a picture. It's great to have a photo of yourself on your professional site, though you do need to think about picking the right one. A photo of you at PCB over spring break is probably not the best choice, but this one of Alice is great. She's got that whole American hero thing going on. Second, Alice has a link to a social media profile on her front page. Now, Alice isn't actually running the Dane County Sheriff's Office Twitter account because the real Sheriff's Office is doing that, but you get the idea of what it would look like. You could embed your own Twitter account or some other social media link. Next, Alice has work samples and a resume under her My Work menu item, right here. Okay, let's look at her work samples first. So her samples are really her pet projects or campaigns, basically the stuff she cares about the most. Alice really hates meth, so that's her first campaign. She's also really into preventing suicide and encouraging self-defense. You're not aiming for a job in law enforcement, so your work samples will not be campaigns. They'll be examples of news stories or press releases you've written, videos you produced, graphics you designed, pictures you took, websites you created, pretty much anything you produce in 202 or beyond that you're especially proud of. Alice also has her resume in this section. If you go over My Work and click on Resume, that big image you see down here, that's a JPEG, but she also has a place for people to download a PDF version of the resume. She also could have typed out the resume directly into WordPress, but Alice is a busy woman. The fifth required element of the portfolio site is contact info. Alice has all that over here. Okay. You've got her email and her Twitter, and then you've also got this optional contact form at the bottom. She does not have her home address for safety reasons, and you should follow her example on that and leave really personal information like that off of your website. Okay, finally, Alice has a blog component to her website. She blogs about stuff that is relevant to law enforcement, though she only has one post, so she's not doing such a great job of keeping up with it. WordPress is really geared toward blogging, so when Alice first created this web page, the blog part of her site was actually the home page. She wanted more of an About Me front page, so she moved this blog to a new page called Commentary over here, so that she could have her home page be sort of a landing About Me type thing. Let's talk about that blog component for a second. For 202, we usually ask you to blog on your site. I say usually because there are several instructors who rotate through teaching 202, and it's up to them to determine how the blog part works. Sometimes they'll ask you to respond to prompts, or they'll want you to write a post that relates to one of our readings, or they'll want you to share your thoughts about a current event in the industry. It depends on who's teaching, and they'll always give you direction as to what they want you to do with the blog component. But how do you work it into the site? I mean, we see that Alice's blog posts are not on her home page, but there are some examples of sites where the blog does appear on the home page. Here's an example from a previous 202 student. Megan chose to leave her blog posts on the front page, which can be a really great idea if you want people to get a taste of your writing style. You know, if she's going for a writing gig, then this site instantly shows off her writing skills to a potential employer. Devin also kept his blog on his homepage, which was a good decision because he analyzes and discusses current issues in sports. This shows someone interested in hiring Devin that he keeps up with what's happening in the sports world and can write about those things in a unique way. However you choose to incorporate the blog component is fine. Just consider how the blog contributes to your brand. If you're only doing the blog to satisfy the 202 requirement, then maybe it should go on a side page, something you could delete or change when you actually send out your portfolio link to employers. But if you want to be a sports writer, like Devin, you should weave a sports theme throughout your blog posts, and those posts could become part of your brand, and you might want to feature them more prominently. Okay, so I've mentioned a bunch of these required elements, but let's go over them one last time to be really clear. You absolutely have to have your resume on your site. Here's Alice's. You have to have contact info, especially your email address. You have to have a social media link. Alice has this Twitter account embedded as a widget. It doesn't have to be Twitter, but you have to have some sort of social media link. And you have to have work samples. She has her campaigns, but you would have maybe links to your individual story website that you create, or you'd embed graphics or photos or videos you create throughout the semester. You have to have a multimedia component. Alice is really going with the bare minimum here with this image, but you could also have a video or multiple images. Hopefully your site will be visually interesting. And you do have to have some blog component, depending on what your instructor tells you to do in the semester that you're taking this course. All these required elements, the contact info and resume and work samples, they add up to a website that highlights what you do and what sets you apart. What sets you apart is your brand. So when we say think about branding yourself, we mean tell me the special skills that would make me hire you over everybody else. Keep in mind you're not branding yourself as a journalism student. You're looking ahead to what kind of job you want when you're finished here. Here are some basic branding elements that you need to consider. Are you wanting to go into strategic communication or news? If you don't know, maybe you want to focus on a more general brand as a professional, versatile communicator. Is there any particular industry you're aiming to break into? For example, do you really want to be a sports writer, a travel writer, a fashion blogger? Your portfolio should reflect those interests. If you have a special skill set, like design or multimedia, make sure that your site conveys those talents. If your skill is photography, I'd hope to see a lot of photos on your site. If it's video, I'd really like to see a video, hopefully on that front page. To wrap up, let's talk about the writing style for these portfolio sites. There isn't one blog writing style. Some people are really candid in their posts, others take a more professional tone. You can use bullet points, create top 10 lists, make a video blog post, a vlog. Embed stuff from around the web, use feature leads, hard news leads, use hyperlinks. You get the idea, anything is okay. But the only thing we require is that you use proper grammar and style. It'll be hard to sell yourself as an expert communicator if your site lacks in those two areas. There's no minimum or maximum word limits. This is one of those things where we want you to be you. We want you to have some place to show off all the great work you'll produce during your time in the J School.